Hey folks, tonight I want to introduce you to a little program I've been using for a while now called VideoMonkey. You can download it from videomonkey.org and it's for the Mac OS. And it's free, which is pretty great. What does VideoMonkey do? It lets you re-encode video for different devices and also to make the video a little bit smaller. So let me take you through just a real sort of typical workflow that I use VideoMonkey for. Let's say I'm in After Effects and I'm going to export out an animation or some editing I did in After Effects. And this also works if you're using Final Cut or Premiere or whatever. And let's say I'm in After Effects. I'm going to go ahead and export this. I go to my Output module and I select my file format, which would be QuickTime, but then I also got to pick the appropriate compression codec. So if I go into Format Options, usually the default codec is animation. Why? Because it begins with an A and it's at the top of the list. A lot of folks nowadays will export H.264, which gives you a nice small file size at a really small data rate, and it plays quite nicely on your desktop computer. And then you go ahead, you hit OK, and you go ahead and you render out that project. Well, here's the thing about compressing video, is that the video codecs will do a better job compressing down the video if it knows what all the frames in the animation or video look like ahead of time. For example, when you export out of After Effects, or if you're recording video on an SLR camera, those frames are generated on the fly, so the compression codec has no way of what's coming up next, where if you already export a movie and then you recompress it afterwards, the odds are much better that you're going to get a smaller file size because it can foresee the upcoming frames and compress them accordingly in a more efficient manner. So my typical scenario would be to export a piece of animation out of After Effects or maybe something out of Premiere Pro, and then I will end up with usually a QuickTime movie file. And then after that, I'll go into VideoMonkey. It's a very, very simple program. It doesn't have a whole lot of settings to it or options to it, just a handful of presets. And I kind of prefer this over the Adobe Media Encoder or Apple's compressor. I mean, I've used those programs and they're great, but they also have a lot of settings in them. And if I'm looking for something that's just quick, down and dirty, VideoMonkey does the trick. It kind of replaces the aging QuickTime Pro, if you've ever played around with that. So again, here I'm in VideoMonkey. Here I have a final movie right here on my desktop, this final export that actually, I believe, came out of Photoshop of all programs. If I get info on it, you'll see that's 171 megabytes, which, for videos is small, but that's okay. It will get even smaller when we're done with it. You simply take your video, you drag and drop it into the VideoMonkey interface. And you can stick as many videos in here as you like. You just drag them all and drop them, and they'll all go into the queue here. And then you tell it what to convert to. You get some options. You can make it so that it's iOS friendly for different Apple devices. Normally, I just make it an MP4. Those will play on your iOS devices, and they work great on the internet. It makes the file size nice and small. It's just really going to shrink this file size down while keeping the quality quite nice. You'll notice right next to it, it says file size. Right next to the file name, it says file size, 16.3 megabyte. Well, if I re-encode this video at standard quality, that's how big the final file size is going to end up, 16.3 megabytes. Now, standard gets to be a little questionable at times. I usually like to keep it, somewhere between high and standard, maybe leaning a little more toward high. You can go nuts. I love that setting, the go nuts setting. That doesn't compress it down a whole lot more, but if you go ahead and put it, just below high, I can get that 170 some odd megabyte file down to about 64. If I kind of fudge it a little more towards standard, I can get it to about 58, 55 megabytes. So it's nice that it gives you the file size before you encode it. And that's it. You have the encoding speed. If you want to have a little better quality, it does a 2-pass encoding. You can set that. I do that from time to time, but believe it or not, for the most part, I keep it on normal. With the 2-pass, you'll get better quality. It'll just take a little longer to generate the final piece there. So I was going to keep it on normal and hit start, and off it goes. For the most part, it's pretty quick at encoding files. I've thrown a lot of stuff in here, and it goes fairly quickly. I actually think it goes a little quicker than the old QuickTime 7 Pro. So we'll just wait a moment, and here we are. It's almost done. That took about 3 minutes or so. And it's telling me everything was encoded without errors. That's a good thing. Let's click on this MP4 file it generated. How big is it? It's 56 meg, just like it said it would be. All right, actually, it lied. It said it was going to be 57, but close enough. And the actual quality of the video is totally fine. I'd show it to you, but by the time this goes on YouTube, it's going to get recompressed anyhow, so you're not going to get a very accurate representation of what the video should look like. But take my word for it, it's not too shabby looking. Okay, so Video Monkey. It's a great, free, simple tool to re-encode your video. I've been using it as a substitute for the retiring QuickTime 7 Pro. Till next time.